everyone. This class is going to be a intermediate level class, and this class is going to focus on people who want to learn how to go from shoulder stand and drop back into bridge pose and then lift themselves back up again. So that is intermediate, even a little further on. It's a hard pose, but it's not impossible, and it's not impossible to work on. There's several steps along the way that you can work on. So something that is often exciting is to work on a pose that feels totally unreachable and find that actually you can make some progress in that direction. And so I hope to give you that sense of confidence with this class. So for today's class, you're going to first of all need to have some basic comfort with shoulder stand. If you're not there yet, keep working on that. Come back to this video another time. You'll need 3 or 4 blankets for your shoulder stand to support yourself. You'll need 2 blocks, a yoga strap, and a wall. Maybe even the wall you could use like the back of a door, as long as no one will open the door while you're practicing. Lock it or make sure no one's home, and a chair if you have one. So I'll show various things, but the main things you'll really want: 3 blankets, a wall, 2 blocks, and a strap. If you're not sure what to do as substitutes for those things, shoot me a message or an email, and I'll give you some tips on things you can find around the house that could work as substitutes. So with that, let's get started. Come to your mat and come into child's pose, Mandukasana. Bring yourself to your mat and have your big toes close together, touching, knees a little bit apart, wider apart than the hips. Sit your hips back towards your heels and extend your arms out in front. And I personally prefer to rest my head on the block or something soft. You could also bring your head to the floor. Stretch the arms out, keep the elbows up off the floor. When the elbows come down, that's not wrong, it's just a slightly heavier way to do the pose. And at the beginning of practice, we're building energy, so try to firm the musculature around the elbows and lift the underside of the wrists up off the floor. Lift the armpits and broaden your shoulder blades a little bit apart, away from one another, and secure or energize the shoulders away from the ears. Walk your hands half inch closer back toward your knees and push the hands down and forward, and see if you can root your hips even more firmly back to or toward the heels. Just take a couple full breaths here. And then inhale and come up to your hands and knees. Bring the knees a little bit closer together, more like hip width. Turn your toes under and lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Again, try to feel that lift of the under wrist, firm around the elbows. Draw the belly energetically in and toward the pelvis to help the pelvis ascend up and back. Take a few smooth, deep breaths. If it feels better to have the heels up, then lift the heels. If it feels better, bend the knees. The first order of business here is sense of length and traction through and along the trunk. And then over time and with practice, maybe the legs straighten, maybe the heels come down, maybe not. And then Uttanasana, walk your hands and feet toward one another. Have the feet a bit wider, maybe hip width or even slightly wider than that, and extend out over the legs. Let the back of the neck lengthen. If it feels better to bend the knees, then by all means bend the knees, especially if that takes tension out of your low back. And if it feels readily available to straighten the legs, then do so. If you have your legs straight, straighten them with purpose. Engage the musculature around the knees. Engage the calf muscles from behind the shins into the shin bone from behind like a strong wind. Lift the musculature of the quadriceps up. Let the spine descend and the shoulders ascend. And the gaze is back between the shins, toward the wall behind you. Back of the neck, nape of the neck is long. So the very crown of your head, the roof of your mouth are pointing straight down toward the floor like a spade that's ready to go into the soil. And then, if they aren't already, put a little bend in the knees. Bring your hands to your hips. Urdhva Mukha Uttanasana. Extend the chest forward until there is a sense that there's no rounding in the spine. Draw the belly in. So garner support from the abdomen. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. Elbow tips a little bit toward one another behind you. Strong legs, strong belly. Inhale and push up. And come to a standing in Tadasana. And you can have in Tadasana your feet right together, so the big toes are touching, which is classical. Or you might have your feet a little bit apart. And, there's different reasons to do those different varieties, and you can see which feels more stable for you physically or emotionally in this moment. Arms down alongside you. Deepen the breath, let the jaw relax. Draw the lower abdominal area just slightly in towards you. Keep it secure. The musculature and the energy of the buttocks orients down and lends its momentum into the feet. The whole clavicle collarbone has a buoyancy to it. I often think of the clavicle like a driftwood when you see a big log floating in the ocean or in a lake and it cannot be submerged, it's just bobbing on the surface, or like a pool noodle, is to feel the clavicle is sort of unsubmergible and that it remains up high on the surface and keeps that buoyant quality in it throughout the practice. Just take a few breaths here. Let the mental content settle a little. And then release. And now grab your strap. We're going to do a couple shoulder openers and I have a long history of shoulder issues, so when I do shoulder warm-ups at the beginning of my practice, I have to be quite conservative and gentle. So if you have a history of shoulder things, I recommend also being more on the conservative side. As my practice goes on, if I've been practicing for an hour, I might feel a lot more adventurous with my shoulders than I do at the beginning of my practice. So be gentle with yourself. And just put your strap around your neck. Take it uncoiled so it's not looped in any way. It's just a long noodle. And first, we'll just turn to the side and reach your hands back behind you. Put your hands on your hips and move your elbows back. And you can think of like this part of the body, it doesn't have a name. It's sort of below the armpit and adjacent to the chest. You want to feel this part of the body moving slightly forward and the shoulder moving slightly back. So there's a differential here between the shoulder and the side body. And then take these lower frontal ribs toward the navel, pubic bone up. So that distance isn't coming at the expense of the lumbar spine. Move the elbows back. And then see if you can interlace your hands with the elbows bent. So if you have tight shoulders, it might feel better to keep the hands in contact with the sacrum here. Again, draw the lower frontal ribs in, and then if you can, if it's available, extend the arms to straight. Really get the webbing of your fingers snuggy, snug up right against one another, and then, if you can, keep the webbing tight, but straighten the fingers and pull back. Sacrum, buttocks orient down. Pubic bone orients up. Lower frontal ribs down. Shoulders back. Side chest forward. Relax your jaw. That's a lot of instructions, so if you feel overwhelmed by it, just do the parts you remember. Try not to incorporate tension into the jaw or the breath. Switch the lacing of your fingers. This is just an oldie but a goodie for the shoulders, classic. Good, and then bend the elbows, release the hands, and let your arms be little wet noodles for a sec. Just let energy move through the arms. And then we'll do Go Mukhasana, just the arms, not the legs. So take your strap and dangle it over your left shoulder. Inhale your left arm up and exhale your right arm down. And then bend in the elbows and reach and see if you can catch the strap with both hands. Now, if you don't have a strap, you can use your shirt and just grab the fabric of your shirt. Honestly, you can use a scarf or a belt or a tie. There's a lot of other things you can use. Some of you will be readily able to clasp the hands and you won't need the strap. So if you don't need the strap, that's great. Don't use it. Lift the top elbow up and really stretch this armpit. Feel the tricep of your top arm ascending. And bring the lower frontal ribs in so that this isn't done by projecting the rib cage forward. Lift your head, have some dignity, bring the pit of the throat back, and don't allow the top hand to shove your face down and forward. Take a breath or two here. Good, and then release and slowly unfurl the arms. Give a big stretch out. Clear the energy, and then move the strap over to your right shoulder. Inhale your right arm up, exhale left hand down, and then pinwheel, bend in the elbows, and either catch your strap, catch your fabric of your shirt, or entwine the hands. And again, bring these lower frontal ribs back in and draw the lower abdominal skin in. Stretch the tricep of your right arm, your top arm, pit of the throat back. It's an orderly experience, but not contained or not militaristic. Orderly but not strict. Stay connected to the breath, which helps maintain sense of circulation, and also just feel and visualize a movement of energy within the pose so it doesn't feel stagnant or locked. Good, and then release the arms, unwind, stretch out wide. Give a real vigorous stretch like you're preparing to give someone a giant bear hug. And then release and bring the arms down. And set your strap aside. We'll come back to it again a little later in the practice. And we'll do some half sun salutations. I learned these half sun salutations a million years ago from a teacher named Eric Schiffman. And I remember I took a workshop with him and we did them for like 10 minutes straight or something. What felt like a really long time. And it was wonderful, and I love a good full sun salutation as much as the next person, but the half salutation puts no burden on the shoulders and gets you so much of the experience as far as the mood and the breath and the movement with a really low strain, low risk. Feel free to bend your knees if that feels better in the process and really feel and enjoy the spinal movement. So from Tadasana, again, the feet can be together or slightly apart, your choice. Inhale, extend the arms out, make a trace of big arc and up. Reach down through the legs and up through the arms. And exhale and dive forward and draw down and in, Uttanasana. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Uttanasana. Extend the chest forward and come up as high as you need to feel that you can take all rounding out of the back. And then exhale, back down and in again. Inhale, arms out wide and rise up. Trace a big arc with the arms. Exhale, hands at the heart. Inhale, sweep the arms up and reach up. Exhale, dive forward and draw down and draw in. Inhale, extend out long through the chest, strong belly, shoulders back. Exhale, draw down and in. Inhale, rise up and reach up. Exhale, hands at the heart, shoulders down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, upward facing Uttanasana. And exhale, down and in again. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, hands at the heart. 3 more times at your own pace. Don't feel rushed. Whenever you're done with your 3rd sequence, that'll be standing in Tadasana, mountain pose. And when you come to standing in mountain pose, establish yourself, settle in. Keep feeling the pool noodle quality of the clavicle, buoyant, broad. Let the shoulders drift a little bit laterally apart, so you feel a little broader in the upper chest and also broader in the upper back. So there is a sense of spaciousness. Good, and then release. And get a block. And we're going to do Parshva Konasana. Just going to adjust my mat. So I'm going to suggest that you use a block. You might find that you prefer not to use a block, and that's fine. But I'm going to talk as though you're using one. But do it your way. Bring your feet pretty wide apart. Traditionally, it's sort of that if you extend your arms out, your wrists are under your ankles. Of course, that doesn't allow for variation in certain people with really long arms or long legs or whatever, so see what feels good. But it's a broad stance for sure. Turn the right toes out and have your block on the outside of the right ankle. Inhale, extend the arms out wide. Lift the chest, feel this breath, and the breath is continued out through the arms. Full breath in. Exhale, bend in the right knee, and then reach out and really reach and stretch your tricep towards your hand. Really, really reach and bring your right hand to your block and push into it. If you feel like you have more of a reach than a push, elevate the block so you can get a strong sense of applied pressure. So the right arm becomes the equivalent of a 3rd leg. Bring your left hand to your left hip, bend your elbow, and move the elbow back. Draw the lower abdominal area in, and the buttocks and the tailbone orient toward the back foot. Lift your chest, bring your chin a little bit out of your throat, and then sweep left arm overhead and reach. Send your left tricep towards your left hand, send your left quadricep towards your left foot. Reach the right inner knee forward, push through the right hand, lift your chest. The quality of this pose has to do with clearance and elongation. So if you feel congested, Try elevating the position of the right hand. Try elevating the left arm a little. Try to keep creating more clearance than congestion in your internal experience. Strong legs. Inhale and push back up. And then turn the right toes in, left toes out. Grab your block. Move your block over to the left. Inhale, your arms out wide. Exhale, bend the left knee. Now reach, reach, reach. Send your tricep away from the armpit. Strong abdomen. Really reach. Ground back into that back leg. Bring your left hand down and push into it. Right hand on the right hip. Lower belly in. And this left knee goes toward the elbow behind it. So that knee has a tendency to sort of creep forward. Creep it back. Now draw the right elbow back. So this whole chest area, this side chest, again is open. And then extend the right arm overhead. Right tricep toward the right hand. Right quadricep muscles toward the right foot. You look down, if that's more relaxing for your neck. You can look straight ahead the same direction your chest is looking. Or you can look up if that feels good. But remembering again that our objective is to bring more clarity and less congestion into our experience through our practice. Strong legs. And then inhale and push all the way up. Turn the left toes in, hands to the hips. We'll do Prasarita Padottanasana next, so you might want to just shorten your stance a little bit. I like my feet a little bit closer for this pose. Some of you will like to use a block, and some of you probably would prefer to have your hands on the floor. Hands on your hips for starters. Put a little bend in the knees. Feel springy and alive in the legs, and then squeeze the legs into straightness so there's a strong sense of grounding down. Belly in. Inhale, lift your chest up, shoulders down. And then exhale and hinging in the hips. And come into the first phase of the pose. And in the first phase of the pose, the spine is extended and not rounded. So from the side, like this, you want to feel there's not rounding in the upper back, the head's not dropping, and also not a lot of rounding in the lower back. If this is a challenging pose for you, put a little bend in the knees, draw the tummy in, and really express the hips back in space, chest forward, shoulders back. And from here, you can stay in this pose, or you can progress toward the second expression of the pose, which is to walk your hands back between your feet, fingers pointing forward the same direction as the toes. Take a big breath in, pull noodle chest forward, and then exhale, start to bend the elbows, hinge more deeply in the hips, and bring the crown of your head to or toward the floor. And the shoulders ascend, even as the roof of the mouth and the crown of the head descend. The sternum becomes increasingly vertical, parallel to the shins, parallel to the forearms. Keep lifting the shoulders. And there is a lot of steady leg strength required in this variation. Keep the kneecaps lifting. Put a slight buffer between the two inner knees. Slightly press the inner knees apart so that they don't roll or drop in. And then to come back up, keep the hands where they are, straighten the arms and pull the chest forward. Pull the calf muscles into the shin bones from behind. Hands to your hips. Inhale and come up. And then big step, step your feet together. Be in Tadasana. Settle in. Settle the breath. Do all the components of Tadasana that you remember. Release. And we'll do the same pose we did a moment ago, Parshvakonasana. We'll do it a second time with an arm variation. So I'm going to show it first. Just watch, and then I'll do it with you and talk you through it. But I want to show it has more of, it's more shouldery and more of this arm variation with the top arm. Instead of the arm reaching over, it's going to reach around and behind. So I think I'll show you from behind so you can see what I'm doing. So again, you'll use the block as desired. And this time, when we come out into the pose, this top arm turns to face the same direction that the behind is touching. Bend the elbow, and the hand comes toward the back. It's a little bit like that, like the arms that we did like this at the beginning. And then this arm creepy crawls. You can grab your pants. You can creepy crawl your hand. It's not creepy because it's your own hand, but you can creepy crawl your hand around towards your thigh and grab your pants, or maybe you can creepy crawl your hand all the way through and grab the inseam of your own thigh. And I really grab a handful of my own mass, push into the lower arm, lift the chest. And it's a big chest opener for this top shoulder, top chest, big stabilizer in the lower limbs. And then when we release, we'll extend the arm back up and come up. So we'll do it together. Now, big step, step your feet wide apart. Have your block on the outside of your right foot. Turn your right toe out to the right. Inhale, arms out wide. Exhale, bend the right knee. Reach out with your right arm. Send your tricep away. Reach, really give it a good reach, and bring your right hand to the block. Push. So as soon as it touches the block, that right arm becomes a third leg. Pubic bone toward the navel, lower frontal ribs toward the navel. So this area is contained. Now, extend your left arm up. Turn the palm so it's facing the screen. And now, internally rotate so your palm faces away from the screen toward the wall behind you. Start to bend your left elbow and bring the back of your hand to your sacrum. And then see if you can, itsy bitsy spot here, creepy crawl your hand around and toward the inseam of the front leg. Draw the belly in, lift the chest, lift the nose a little bit, but just slightly snobby. So you get a little haughty kind of a feeling, chest up. The unsubmergible pool noodle of the chest stays up. Tailbone and buttocks orient toward the back foot. Be strong and unrelenting in the back leg. Take a few breaths here. Unfurl the left arm all the way up to straight. Stretch it clear, make it firm and straight, and clear it through action. Inhale, come up. Turn the right toes in, left toes out. I brought my block with me. If you did, grab your block. Move it over to the left. Same pose, second side. Be gentle with your shoulders. Again, it takes time and patience. I know this well from my own history with shoulders. Inhale, your arms out wide. Exhale, bend in the left knee. Now reach, really reach. Feel that action stretches, very organic, stretches through the whole side, and bring your left hand down and push. Right hand to the right hip. Draw the belly in a little, chest up. Now extend your right arm up. Internally rotate the arm so the palm is facing the wall behind you. Start to bend the right elbow and bring the back of your hand to the back of your backside. And you can stay there, you can grab your pants, or you can be very sneaky, slide like a fox, and just inchworm that hand around toward the inseam and grab hold of your own mass. Push into the bottom arm, left knee toward the left elbow, belly in. Now chest up, nose up a little. You can overdo it, so it's just a little, just slightly haughty. Strong back leg. Take a few breaths here. Be with the effort and temper the effort with moderated breath. the effort doesn't get the best of you. You can meet the demands of the effort with a sense of poise and self-control. Unfurl the right arm. Extend the right arm up and squeeze it tight. Squeeze the muscles of the shoulders away from the neck. Squeeze the muscles of the elbows. Sometimes just a good, firm, solid activation neutralizes any strain. Inhale and push up. Turn the left toes in. Big step, feet together. Take a few breaths in. Tadasana. Arms long at your sides. And then we'll do downward facing dog. So come down. Have the hands and feet a little wider than maybe you typically do for downward dog, just so it's again emphasizing a sense of clearance and spaciousness. So hands even a little wider apart than your shoulders, and knees and feet a little wider apart than your hips, and then up and back. And this way of doing downward dog is just a little less crowded. It's like moving from a condo to a single family home. You just get that little bit more space, a couple extra closets, maybe a second bathroom. Let the shoulders broaden, the breath deepen. Good, and then releasing. So next we'll work on some lunge work to get some activation in the abdomen, explore a little bit more of this differential between the side chest and the shoulder, and get some opening into the quadriceps, especially for those of you who have a lot of quadricep tightness, which it turns out is an awful lot of people. So you'll need your 2 blocks at the front of your mat. Personally, I prefer mine on tall, but you might have different dimensions than me. You might feel like you don't even need blocks, so that's fine. And then place a blanket down in the middle of the mat. That'll just be to support your knee, and it'll feel better. And it's not, I suppose, not a total necessity, but life's hard enough. You may as well support the knee. So come up here, standing at the front of your mat, and place your 2 feet between your 2 blocks. Hands on the hips, move the elbows a little bit back, and move the shoulders toward the elbows. You can think of like a dog chasing a cat, and move the shoulder toward the elbow and the elbow toward the floor behind you. Draw the belly in. Big breath in. Use your hands to sort of constrain your hips down, lift the chest up, and then exhale and hinge forward and bring your hands to your blocks. If it feels better to bend the knees, that's fine. Now right foot stays where it is, left foot takes a big step back over the blanket while behind you. And be in a raised lunge. Right shin is vertical, arms are vertical. Firm the musculature around your left knee. Feel the left shin pushing away from the floor, left quadricep muscles adhering to the femur from the floor toward the femur. Move the shoulders away from the ears. In the front foot, just watch that the weight isn't all in the heel. Allow the ball of the front foot, not the toes, which just easily hold tension, but see if you can share some weight into the ball of the front foot. Now tune into the positioning of your neck, and if anything, lift the gaze a little, just so the head's not dropping, not adding heaviness to the pose. Good. Strong legs. Step the back foot forward, and then step the right leg up, over, and back. So switching sides. Be in raised lunge, left foot forward, right leg back. Firm the musculature around the right knee. Bring the right shin up. Bring the right quadricep muscle up into the femur. Shoulders away from the ears. Your pool noodle. clavicle forward and broad. Again, let the shoulders just slightly migrate away from one another so that they aren't migrating in toward one another. Long neck, steady with the breath. Good. Switch. Step again. Back foot forward and left foot back. And then this time, slowly lower left knee down. So first, just be here in the stretch, and you want to feel that your left knee is not just below the hip, but behind the hip. So the femur, you can see that, like if I mimic it with my spine or with my arm, the angle of the back femur is really steep. It's not 90 degrees. It's much steeper than that. So first, just sort of go into it with a stretch. Lift the chest a little. And then start to push down through the right foot and start to push down through the left knee and pull the left knee and the right foot toward one another. And you'll feel that bring some tone into the right hamstring and the pelvic floor. It makes the whole thing feel more muscular and less stretchy. Bring the hands to your right knee. Push the hands down and forward and pull the belly in and lift the trunk up. A lot of times when we lift up, then the whole pelvis draws back. It's not against the law, but to the extent that you can, see if you can keep this action of bringing the foot and the knee toward one another, but also keeping the pelvis forward so we maintain a stable but palpable stretch in that back leg. Now the hands on the knee, they're not just bracing you, you really push down and forward like you're kneading dough, like you're kneading bread, and that helps you draw the belly in response to that push. Now, lift the left foot up, bring your left arm around, grab the left foot, bend the left elbow, and invite the heel toward the buttocks. Strong belly, chest up, pool noodle up, eternally up. And keep bringing the back knee and the front foot toward one another. Shoulders down so your neck is long. Have just that slight, haughty snob of a nose up. Do what you can, bringing the foot towards your hip. If it doesn't come all the way to the hip, bring it as close as you can. See if you can bring the left ribs forward. So this side chest area below the armpit, adjacent to the chest, comes forward as the shoulder moves back. We're exploring this no-name area. Good, release. Bring your hands back to the block, bring the left toes to the floor. And like we did with the arm, turn the left toes under, straighten the left leg, and just squeeze it straight. Saturate it with the simplicity and clarity of active straightness. Often when something is challenging, there's a temptation to sort of whittle it out. See instead if you can just stabilize and absorb what you did. Back foot forward, and then right leg back. Feet in a lunge with the left foot forward, right leg back. Slowly descend the right knee down and let the pelvis shift forward. And then start to push the right knee into the floor, push the left foot in the floor, and draw them toward each other like people from across the bar who made eye contact. Now bring the hands to the left knee, push down and forward like you're kneading bread dough, pull the belly in, chest up. So strong pelvic floor, strong belly, strong right glutes. Keep the left hand pushing down and forward, bring the right foot up, reach the right hand back, and bring the right foot to or toward the right legs. Belly in and up. Move the right shoulder back and the right side chest forward. Lift your nose a tiny little bit, just slightly snotty. Not quite Parisian levels of snobbery, but keep the head up. Good, and then release. Both hands to the block, bring the right toes to the floor, turn them under. Lift the back right leg, squeeze the right knee. Feel the steady, soothing simplicity of a good, strong, straight leg. And then step the right foot forward, bend your knees, hands to your hips. Inhale and come up. And be standing in Tadasana, arms long at your sides. Settle in. Make peace with the breath. And then get your strap. And we're going to do this great little thing called the yogi jetpack with our strap. You'll need a long enough strap. If you have a short strap, it'll feel just slightly less wonderful, but still worth doing. It's just going to be a little bit different. So take your strap. I'm going to move my blocks off my mat because I don't need them right now. Take your strap and undo it as before, so it's not a loop in any way. It's just a long noodle. And hold it in the middle so the two sides that dangle down are the same length. And then this part up here where I'm holding with my hand, I'm going to put that behind my heart. And then I catch the two sides that are adjacent to my chest. So hanging down alongside me, I should have two noodles that are of approximately the same length. And then from here, lift your little straps up so they come up in front of your armpits. I don't know if you can see that well from here. Up in front of the armpits, like suspenders. Tuck your chin and cross your hands behind you. Switch hands with the strap. So the strap makes a little X behind the nape of your neck. And this part's a little bit tricky. Bring your hands out to the end of your straps, and then the only way to describe it is like a big squirming action. You gotta squirm your way so that the straps are behind you, and you can grab the straps near your ribs and pull down. So, you should be able to catch the straps near the bottom of your rib cage or near your waist, and the action is straight down. The shoulders descend. Often when I do this, my front ribs love to just go off across the ocean. So I have to bring those lower frontal ribs in, buttocks slightly down, and watch that what's really happening is an ascent of the collarbone and a descent of the shoulder blades. It also helps me to think of lifting this mid-back, not my low back, not my shoulder blades, but this mid-back area up. So as I pull down, the shoulder blades descend and the back ribs lift up. And that helps prevent, in my case, that helps prevent compression in the lumbar spine. My neck feels so long, now I can really be snobby. My long neck. Draw the belly slightly in, stable with the breath. So we're going to use this yoga jetpack in a couple of lying down back bends. So to make the transition, take your two ends, release the tension, take your two ends and just bring them across underneath your chest and just tie them in a little strap, in a little knot, so they just won't wobble around too much. And I'll show you first so you can maybe just watch, and then we'll do it together. So we'll do it together, I think twice, but I'll show it first. So you can just watch. We'll do Shalabhasana, which is locust pose. We're going to do it with our jetpack. So now that I'm down on the ground safely, I'm going to undo my straps and come down, face down on my mat and find my jetpack. Kind of like I said, I'm grabbing the straps kind of near my ribs or near my waist. Point my toes. Bring the forehead to the floor so the nape of the neck is long. Take a big breath in. Push the tops of my feet into the floor so the knees are firm. Tailbone toward the heels, pubic bone into the floor so my belly is engaged. Big breath in. And then exhale, legs up, head up, and pull back. So much descent in the shoulders, so much length in the neck, feels great. And again, this area in the side chest is being allowed to see the light of day. Aha. You can experiment having the hands lower or higher. You get different effects doing that. Stay super strong in the belly to protect the back, super strong in the glutes. And the projection of the legs is away and up, not just up. Okay, so now let's try it. Come on down if you're not there already. And once you get down, you can untie your strap. I just tie it when I'm transitioning from standing to lying down so that it doesn't come all unraveled. So then come down onto your abdomen, forehead to the floor, and have room to point your toes. So the soles of the feet are facing the ceiling and the toenails are facing the sticky mat. And legs about hip width apart. Now reach and grab the sides of your strap alongside your ribs or your waist. Point the toes with some vigor. Push the tops of the feet into the floor and firm the knees off the floor. Bring the buttocks and the tailbone toward the hamstrings and the pubic bone into the floor. Take a big breath in and exhale. Legs up and back, chest forward and up. Pull back with the arms and let the head rise up. Just put that slightly, now we're like practically bordering on Parisian. Lift your snooty little nose. Pull the quadriceps toward the feet, away from the pelvis. Pull the buttocks toward the feet, away from the butt, away from the low back. Pull with the arms. Make the nape of the neck long. Strong belly. Good. Release. Turn your head to one side. Rest for a moment. I'll do it a second time. Okay, second time. Here goes nothing. Forehead on the floor so the nape of the neck is long. Grab your straps. Push the tops of the feet in the floor. Tone your knees. Buttocks and tailbone toward the hamstrings. Pubic bone in the floor. Strong belly. Take full breath in. Exhale, rise up, legs pull immediately back, not just up, but back. Send your quadriceps toward the feet, send your calves toward the feet, buttocks toward the feet. Pull back with the arms. If the arms, if you have long enough space in the strap, straighten the arms. And let the side chest come forward into the light. Lift your chest, lift your chin. Take a breath or two. A breath or two that feel unflustered and unfrantic. Good, and release down, release the strap, turn your head to the other side. Good. And then just push up onto your elbows for a sec so you can watch. We'll do Dhanurasana, which is bow pose with the jetpack. If you find that the jetpack is annoying you, do Dhanurasana without it. That's fine. Usually I have to adjust the position of my hands when I'm going from pulling back to catching my feet. So I use the straps like as a guide, and then once I can grab my feet, I grab my feet. So I'll show you once, and then again we'll do it twice, like we did Shalabhasana twice. So I'm going to start in the same way. Just watch this first time. I'm going to grab the straps, push into the tops of the feet, big breath in, and exhale as I lift my chest, and I'm going to bend my knees and pull back with the hands to catch my feet. And once I can catch the feet, I let go of the strap, but I use the strap to pull me up, and it gets me much more access into my upper back, top chest area. And kick the heels up and back, lift the chest, and then release down. So that's what we'll do. And if the strap is bugging you, disregard it and just bend the knees, catch the feet, and do Dhanurasana strapless. Okay, so here we go. on the floor. Adjust the tension in your jetpack. Hold the straps alongside your ribs. Buttocks toward the hamstrings, pivot bone toward the floor. Take a big breath in. Exhale, just up, bend your knees, pull with the arms and pull back until you can catch your ankles, and then grab your ankles and kick back. Lift the knees, lift the chest, and let the shoulders go back toward the hands and the side chest emerge forward. Lift your snotty little nose. Ooh la la. Merci. Just up. Good, and then release. Turn your head to one side. Rest. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time. So, grab the straps alongside your chest. Buttocks toward the heels. Pivot bone into the floor. Take a big breath in. Exhale, pull with the hands, lift the chest, bend the knees, catch the ankles and kick back. Knees up, soles of the feet, lift up, chest up. Let the shoulders go toward the hands and the side chest vigorously emerges forward. Lift your nose. Take a whiff. Good, and then release and turn your head the other way. Let the shoulders relax, let the whole operation relax a little. Good. And then you can squirmy worm your way. Push up, squirm out of your jetpack to take your outfit off. And come to sitting in Upavishta Konasana. Bring the legs out wide apart. Your legs will decide for themselves how wide they're willing to be. Bring your hands back behind you. Push down into the ground. And again, this little area that doesn't have a name, below the armpit, adjacent to the chest, lifts up, feels ascendant, feels recognized. You might find it helpful to broaden the arms a little. Now lift up the nape of the neck. Stretch the skin on the soles of the feet. Calf muscles come toward the shin from below. Quadricep muscles come toward the femur from above. And just gradually, after the exertion of the back bends, let the breath neutralize and let the energy sort of neutralize. A pose like this that is lower to the ground and symmetrical has sort of absorbent properties, so it can absorb the energy and the effort of those back bends and digest it. So we won't add anything too complicated for a few more breaths. Just let the pose and the breath absorb what you've worked on so far. We'll do Parivrita Janu Shirshasana. You have a lot of choices here, so you can just follow the progression for as many steps as feel beneficial to you. And at the point that progressing further feels just purely ego-driven or excessively ambitious, then back off at that point. So take your left hand to below the left knee, support the knee, and bend the knee, and let the knee open out. If your knee is up quite high, maybe elevate the pelvis a little rather, or you could support the knee, but I would suggest actually putting a little height under the pelvis. Take a big breath in and then exhale and twist toward the bent knees. Turn to the left and bring these right ribs around from behind. So the right ribs are kind of spying on the left knee, like neighbors peeking over the fence. The right ribs are looking at that left knee. Lift up. Now is the time to deploy Parisian levels of snobbery. Lift your chest, lift your nose. And keep turning to the left, so you're almost like, it's like you're too dignified to look at the right leg. But bring your right hand around to the inseam of the right leg, or to the right shin, so you can feel, with your right hand, you feel your right leg, but you are not turning to look at it. Lift your chest and start to walk your right hand down the right leg, toward the shin, toward the ankle, toward the foot. Keep turning away from it, chest up. This makes my left hand come off the floor, so you can put your left hand on your hip or on a block. Now, if you can reach the foot, don't look at your foot. This is all done through proprioception. If your right hand reaches your foot, turn your right palm to face the ceiling and catch the big knob of the ball of the right big toe from below, so the palm faces up. Lift the chest, turn to the left, away from the right leg. Next, you can start to bend the right elbow to the shin or to the floor along the inseam. And then push the ball of the right big toe into the right hand. Lift your chest, snobby nose up. Here, if you want, you can extend your left arm overhead. That is a great asset. It increases the side bend experience in the left side, but it does get tiring, so you might just choose to do it for a few breaths. And those of you who can bring the right elbow forward, bring the left hand to the right foot. Give yourself a little squirm, catch the foot with both hands. Separate the elbows, lift the chest, lift your snobby little Parisian nose up, chest up, head back. The unsubmergible pool noodle stays forward, through, and up. Good, and then release. And bring yourself back up. Support the left knee and extend the left leg out. Bring your right hand inside the right leg, bend the right knee. Sit up tall, twist to the right. And remember that you can stop at any point in this progression. You don't have to keep going all the way to the end point, such as it is. Turn away from the left leg. Lift your chest, lift your nose. Now keep turning to the right, but bring your left hand to your left leg without looking. Feel and trust your felt sense. Walk your left hand down toward the shin, toward the ankle, toward the foot. You can bring your right hand to your hip or to a block. Keep drawing the skin of the back in toward the chest, like there's a strong wind. Think of that, the yoga jetpack, and bring the shoulders back and the chest forward. So there's more back bend than forward bend in this pose. Then, if you can catch the foot, turn the left palm up and start to bend the left elbow toward the shin or toward the inseam or toward the floor. Chest up, head back. Keep turning to the right. You can extend the right arm overhead and see how long you can feel that is adding clarity and not congestion. Work with it. If you can, and if it's appealing and feels appropriate, you can bring the left elbow further forward into the room and catch the left foot with both hands. Elbows separate. Clavicle forward and up. Chest up, head a little bit back. And again, there is more back bend than forward bend in this experience. The musculature of the back is really engaged, providing support. The musculature of the abdomen is also engaged, but it's like, what's the thing, like in the Oscars, someone gets the lead role and someone gets the supporting role. Abdomen is more supporting role here. Chest up, good, and then inhale and come up. Take your right hand to your right knee, support the knee, extend the leg out. And then support both knees, bring the knees together. So now we're going to do some shoulder stands. All of that was warming up towards this idea of working on shoulder stand, and specifically shoulder stand dropping back into bridge pose. So I'm going to move the camera. It's going to be a little clumsy, but that's what happens when you don't have a professional crew. And I'm going to show you how to do some versions of shoulder stand with the wall, and then we'll work towards that in some different versions until we work all the way up to dropping back from shoulder stand into bridge pose. So now is when you'll need a wall, maybe a chair, and 3 blankets. Here we go. So first we'll just work on, First we'll work on a basic shoulder stand with the wall. And I say basic, but actually I don't think this is particularly easy. In some ways, I think it's a little bit harder than regular shoulder stand. So I'm gonna have my 3 folded blankets. If you're familiar with shoulder stand, you know this system. 3 or 4 folded blankets, and they have, when you have them folded, they have a tidy end and they have a sloppy end with the fringe. So you want to have the sloppy end near the wall and the tidy edge away from the wall. And I'm going to have it some little distance from the wall. And this might take you a little bit of shenanigans to figure out just how far to be from the wall, but you don't want to be too far, and you'll see why. I'll demonstrate this, and then I'll talk you through it, and we'll do it again, or you can rewind the class. So I'm going to come down, bring my tush right up by the wall, and come down, and this is about right for me, and I know this distance because I do this pose often, but it take you a few times to try it, so that your tush is at the wall, and your shoulders are on the blankets, and your head is off. Then I'm going to reach my hands toward the wall, walk my feet up, and then I'm going to push my feet into the wall and lift my hips up. Bring my shoulder blades toward one another. Bring my hands to my low back, and be in this version of shoulder stand where the feet are at the wall and the hips are coming into the room. And the thing to think about here is the sacrum coming away from the wall, the quadricep muscles coming toward the knees, hamstrings coming toward the buttocks, and a general sense of lift. So let's do it together. Get your 3 blankets, put them in place, and set yourself up so that your buttocks can be right at the wall. You gotta really squirm in there. Shoulders on the blankets and your head on the ground, not on the blanket. So you want to feel that when you come up, the shoulders feel the support and the neck feels some freedom of length. Now bend your knees, put your feet into your wall or your door, whatever you're working with, and push your feet in the wall to lift the hips up. Squeeze your shoulder blades a bit toward one another. Bring your hands to your back ribs or shoulder blades. See if you can walk your elbows closer. And then adjust the placement of the feet so it feels like your shins are sort of roughly parallel to the floor. Push the feet into the wall, and a little tiny bit, get some traction without actually moving the feet. Isometrically pull the heels toward the floor, and that'll help fire up your hamstrings. Now the whole musculature and momentum of the buttocks is up, away from the low back. The hamstrings suck into the femurs and come toward the pelvis. Quadricep muscles suck into the femurs and pull up toward the knees. Keep bringing the pelvis into the room, over the shoulders, over the chest. Watch that the shoulders don't start to cleave too much apart. So you feel a sense of support in the chest and not a sense of collapse. And then it is a matter of sustaining these actions with effort, but without desperation. Feet into the wall and toward the floor. Hamstrings into the femur and toward the sitting bones. Buttocks toward the ceiling, away from the low back. Quadriceps into the femur and toward the knees. Belly in. Bring the skin of the mid-back between the shoulder blades in. Bring the sternum toward the chin. a lot of butt work, a lot of hamstring work, and frankly, it's just a lot of work. So if this is not how your usual shoulder stand experience feels, then this gives you some information about things you could be working on with more attention in shoulder stand when your feet are straight up. Although this is a version we often give beginners, I think in a real sense it gives us, even those of us who aren't beginners, it gives us a very true sense of what the work of the pose should be. Good, release your hands, push your feet on the wall to mitigate your descent. Come down, just rest for a moment with your legs up. And then you can watch, and I'll demonstrate this next version, and then we'll do it together. I'm actually going to move my blankets a little bit further from the wall than where they were a moment ago. And I'm going to move my blankets just a little bit further, not too much further, so that I can work on dropping my feet back to the wall rather than bringing my feet all the way to the ground. I'm just going to go part way to the wall. So I'm going to come into the pose the same way. Bring my feet to the wall. Push my feet on the wall, lift my hips up, shoulder blades together, hands to my back. And first I'll be in this version here where the feet are at the wall, and then I will bring my legs up. And the thing to think about here is the buttocks keeps trying to come into the room for as much as possible and not toward the wall. The buttocks is in a big rush to get toward the wall, but that's not the idea. We want to, like a surprise birthday party or something, we want to keep the butt away from the wall for as long as possible. Keep the secret. So I'm going to bend my knees and keep the buttocks away from the wall for as long as possible. Let's see if I can touch the wall and bring my legs back up. Hamstrings into the femur, buttocks into the room. And the great thing about working with the wall is you can go you can go back but not down, or you can go down and back, and you can go quite far down. So working with the wall is a great way to work on these poses. And if you don't have a wall, you can use a chair. But the wall gives you a lot more options. So let's try it together. Be in position. Bring your blankets just a little bit further from the wall than how you had them before. Push your feet in the wall. Hips up. Square your shoulder blades towards one another. Hands on your back. Elbows towards one another. And then push your feet in the wall. Bring your hips into the room. And then bring your legs up and see if you can keep your hips into the room. Squeeze your quadriceps toward the wall, squeeze your buttocks and your hamstrings away from the wall. And now here goes. Bend the knees, but don't move the knees back, just simply hinge in the knees. Buttocks into the room and bring your feet back to the wall. As soon as you tap, come back up. Shoulder stand and pull up, get long again. Bend the knees, buttocks into the room, feet back. And come back up. And a few times, 5 or 6 times. You're just trying to really be restrained. Let the buttocks move last, most slowly. Be restrained in the descent of the buttocks so that the buttocks aren't rushing. The butts are heavy. Pelvises are heavy. So it takes strength to control the descent. Feet are light. So of course we want to descend the hips first. After you've done it several times, pull back up, pull up. Get a big burst of length. Feet to the wall, push into the wall, and lower down. So that is great work. That's a great way to work on it. And if that feels like enough, then you can keep working on that. Otherwise, I will show going from shoulder stand to the wall without, to the floor without the wall. I'm going to adjust the position of the camera a little bit. Again, I apologize for lack of a professional film crew. This is how it is, though. This is what you got. Okay, great. So, if we were working on shoulder stand into bridge pose without using the wall, if we felt ready for that, you might experience the first many times I did this, my feet fell. There was a point that I could control and then I had to drop after that. And that's okay, I survived. So if you get to that point, you might experiment with that little drop. Or you could put the chair there or several blocks that feel like a stable platform. So hopefully now, after you work with the wall, you could try it without the wall. So here goes. I'm gonna use a block under my pelvis to get up. So I have my same blankets. This time my head is toward the wall, but again, I flipped my blankets around so my head is on the tidy edge. Bring myself up, shoulder blades and elbows toward one another. Stretch up in shoulder stand. Then from shoulder stand, I'm going to keep the knees where they are. Bend the knees without bringing the knees back, and also without bringing the knees forward. I've seen in class when I'm teaching that a lot of times when people bend the knees, they pike, and then we've lost this whole space in the hip, which is what's so critical, which is like almost the definition of bridge pose. So keep your knees where they are and bend your feet back behind you. Imagine you have the wall to push into your imaginary wall, find your buttocks. The buttocks comes over the sternum, hamstrings come into the femur from behind, and now just slowly keep the buttocks to yourself as much as possible, as much as possible, as much as possible. Control the descent. And come down. This is a lot of work on the wrists. So if your wrists are unfamiliar with it, that'll take time and training. And then to get back up, I need a little jump. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who don't need a little jump, but you might need to do kind of a one-legged jump like that, or you might be able to do a two-legged jump and capture the weight of the buttocks as quickly as possible. Bring it up, and I come back through that position of sort of feet at the wall. So let's try it together. Make your way up into shoulder stand. When you are doing shoulder stand, it is not recommended to turn your head to look at the camera. So if you want to rewatch that demo a time or two before you try it on your own, then do that. Or you can just fast forward if you're totally uninterested in this part of the practice. Reach up. Now bend your knees and bring your feet into the imaginary wall, and don't bring the knees forward. Bring the buttocks forward over the sternum. So it's a strong gluteal action, strong belly. The belly and the butt are competing for leading role here. No, neither is the supporting actor. Now slowly keep the belly and the buttocks strong. Use them to mitigate the descent. Then bring your feet to the floor. And if there's a little free fall at the end, so be it. Again, buttocks up, belly in, hamstrings up. Hamstrings gravitate toward the buttocks. Quadriceps gravitate toward the knees. So you can stay here, a breath or two, and then we will try to jump up. And you can jump up one leg at a time or two legs at a time. Give it a shot. Boop. Up you go. And then feet up in shoulder stand and pull up. Pull up. Get one. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. And then release and come down. So if you like that work, you can pause the class and do it a bunch more times. You can work on bridge dropbacks until you just can't do it anymore. But in the interest of humanity, I won't subject everyone to it over and over. So if you're enjoying that, push pause, work on it a bunch. It's great work, so strengthening. All of these poses where we move back in space in a direction that we can't see, they are so unique. And they build a sense of faith and trust in us because we are moving into the unknown. And they have these poses have a special place in my heart and a special place in the practice. So I know that they are scary, I acknowledge that, and I think that's very much part of the value. The value is not purely physiological in these poses. There's a lot of value in building courage and faith and a sort of quiet courage and a quiet faith. So we don't feel hopefully flustered by our efforts, but invigorated or sort of solidified by our efforts. So now come into Supta Baddha Konasana. Take your blankets off your mat, maybe just have one blanket, fold it under the back of your head. Soles of the feet together, knees apart. Let your jaw relax, let your shoulders relax. Sort of, you can do Shavasana arms, or you can bend your elbows, rest your hands on your chest or your abdomen. It feels nice to be in contact with the floor after doing back work like that. Just take a few full and steady breaths. Let the breath slow. And we'll do reclining twist or Supta Marichasana. Bring your soles of the feet to the floor, knees up, so the knees are bent. Extend the left leg out straight and draw the right knee in towards your chest. And really reach through the left leg. Let the right hip, right knee soften. Use your arms to draw the right knee towards you and use your leg to project the left leg away from you. And then hold your knee with your left hand, right knee with your left hand. Extend your right arm out to the right. And then slowly use your arm to draw the right knee across you to the left. Draw your belly in, lift your chest, and keep reaching through your straight leg. And that the active reach, it's kind of like how we used the back leg in the lunge. When that straight leg is really straight and has some vigor in it, it really helps to calm the overall pose. When the straight leg goes limp or dull, it doesn't add anything. It's almost, it detracts. Come back to the center. Bend both knees, push into your feet, lift your hips a little. Move the buttocks away from the tailbone, set the hips down so the hips feel neutrally positioned. Draw the left knee in, extend the right leg out. Hold the knee with the right hand, extend the left arm out to the left. Big breath in, and then exhale as you draw the knee over and across to the right. Draw the belly in and stretch through the right leg. Steady with the breath. Inhale, come back to the center. Bend both knees. Push into the feet, lift the hips a little. Position the hips so that they are neutrally positioned. And draw both knees in and either grab your shins with your hands or wrap your elbows and forearms around your shins. And just give yourself a little squeeze. Even you can lift your head off the floor if that feels good, really pill bug formation. It might feel good to rock a little side to side. It might feel good just to sit in stillness. And then release. Bring the feet to the floor, knees up. And then one at a time, extend the legs out and come into Shavasana. In Shavasana, it might feel good to take some of your blankets, put them across the top of the thighs and the abdomen for a little extra weight, especially after the back bends. Either you can bring the arms out a little ways away from the body and turn the palms up. Or if you prefer, you can bend the elbows and rest the hands on the chest or the abdomen. Let your jaw relax. Let your tongue come down away from the roof of the mouth. And be in Shavasana. If you have time to stay in Shavasana and you want to, then I encourage you to stay in Shavasana. Otherwise, you can bend your elbows and bring your hands to rest on your chest or your abdomen. And let your knees bend. Roll to your side. And then press yourself up and come up to sitting. Om Shanti. Thanks for practicing with me, and let me know if you have questions. I hope that helps build some enthusiasm and some sense of what you can work on to feel more confident and gradually build stability in your bridge pose drop backs. Thanks, everyone.